Open wide your gates, Lord, let the King of glory in. And it specifically is referring to the gates of the city, for the procession into the city of the triumphal king, taking possession of his kingdom. But there's another meaning to it, I think, that speaks to us in our modern age much more succinctly and soberly. And it is that, where do we receive the Lord, the King of Kings? And it's in our hearts, it's in our minds, it's in our actions, it's in the way we treat people. And the whole theme of Advent, as the precursor to the beginning to the entire church calendar year, is one that essentially says, stay awake, be on guard, God is coming. He'll come at a time when you least expect it. And so don't let your lives and your soul be overcome with a listless spirit or the busyness of the world. He says, when the Lord comes, it would do well if we are busy about the things that he wants. And so the whole theme is, stay awake, keep thinking about God. Now, some years ago, when I was a much younger man and at St. Joseph's Church in Cockeysville, it was around this time at Christmas, near Christmas, I decided I'd better do some shopping. So I went to what was then the Hunt Valley Mall. I'm not even sure that's there anymore, to tell you the truth. If it is, it's probably changed a couple times. And it was sheer bedlam on the parking lot. It was even almost more crowded inside. And I stood in line to try to wonder where to go, what kind of store that looked the less crowded. And there was a woman with children, and the children were crying, and they wanted this and they wanted that, and the mother was saying, I'll give you something to cry about. Santa Claus isn't going to bring you anything, you know. And I hear the music that's playing in the background, but I couldn't quite identify it. I looked up, and one of the stores was like Frank's House of Nuts. And I thought, this is the whole mall. It's a house of nuts. And then I realized the music was Silent Night, Holy Night. And nothing was calm or bright, you know. And I thought, what a way to celebrate Christmas. Holy moly. But we tend to fall into that same trap. And there must be a way that we can remember to not become so engrossed in the busyness of our lives that we forget about the Lord of life. And we've had some events that have really made me think about this in a way more differently than I usually would. One of it was the fact that we've had about 7 funerals in a week and a half, and people that have been with us at the noon mass suddenly are not. One woman, in fact, was at her prayer group, Doris Malik, her small church community. She came ill. There was a liturgy committee meeting going on at the same time on that Monday afternoon. They called, Father Ferdinand anointed. I was away. She went to the hospital. She never came back. We just had the funeral Friday. I had a classmate, my age, 68, Father Michael Carrion. He has a brother, Father Patrick Carrion, in the Archdiocese. We were ordained together in 1977, and he was doing the corporal work of mercy of burying the dead. And in the old days, what they used to do is send a limousine for the priest, and he might remember that. You would have the hearse, you would have the priest in a limousine, and you have the family in their limousine following the priest in the hearse. And in fact, when you saw a funeral procession going by, it would not be uncommon for people who were walking down the street and saw this to stop what they were doing, to bow their heads or remove their hat. Today, if you are in a funeral procession, you're most likely not on a double-lane highway, but on one of the interstate roads, and people are coming and going in such fury that you're more likely to get a lift of the finger than a tip of the hat while you're in the procession. I am not kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm glad we can sort of chuckle at it, but if you're in the procession, it's infuriating. How can we be so oblivious to the eternal matters and even to the mortality of the people in front of us? Because it's not like we're heading in a different direction, you know. I'm always amazed when people say something like, if I die, I always want to say, no, it's not if. And so what happened is my classmate they no longer put him in a limousine, and which is fine with us. And what happens is you have the funeral director driving the hearse, you have the deceased in the back, and then you have the priest on the passenger seat. And what we've done is we got to be older priests, is if someone is driving now, we take full advantage of it and we fall asleep. And then when we get to where we're going, they say, "Father, we're here." I used to think that that was something that would never happen to me when I was a younger priest and saw all the old guys dozing off. Now I know that's how they got that way. And I'm in the same boat. But what happened is after he did the rites of burial and he took his seat in the hearse and they were driving him back to the rectory at Immaculate Heart of Mary, he had passed away. He had a heart attack, peacefully, quietly. When she went to wake him up, "Father, we're home," he wouldn't wake up. As a classmate, we were really shocked by that. But also as classmates, we found some solace by saying, well, at least it was convenient. If we died in the front, they could just put him in the back. I know it's cruel, but it helps. So why do I tell you these stories? It's the whole idea of life is we're in life, and we need life. Jesus said, "I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly, or have it to the full." We're never going to make the most out of life if we're simply engrossed in the daily comings and goings of busyness. The only way we're going to find life is by opening wide the gates and the portals of our minds, our hearts, and our soul. So that when the time does come that we pass, instead of going, "Oh, this was inconvenient," we might be able to say, "Lord, you've been on my mind constantly. I've been wanting to see you." And then God may say, "Well done, good and faithful servant," as he certainly would say to Father Michael Carrion, who passed while doing the services for the dead. "Come share your Lord's joy." That should be the animating focus of our lives, and that's what the whole liturgical year is meant to tell us to do and to be. Because God is coming, and he will come at a time when we least expect it. So, stay awake.